Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey, everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese. Ghostly Tales from Liao Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you two short stories. The first story is titled Groom. In the Jiangnan region, a scholar named Mei Aochong once told me an unusual tale. He informed me that his fellow townsman, Mr. Soon, while serving as a magistrate in Jiao, presided over a remarkably strange case. At the outset, in a village under his jurisdiction, there was a family arranging a marriage for their son. After welcoming the new bride into their home, relatives and neighbors from the village gathered to offer their congratulations. They drank and chatted together late into the night. However, at one point, the groom rose from his seat and left the gathering. He walked into the courtyard and noticed that the bride was wearing bright and colorful attire, briskly heading towards the back of the house. This raised suspicions in the groom's mind, prompting him to follow closely behind and give chase. Behind the house, there stretched a lengthy stream, and a small bridge connected its banks. The groom watched in astonishment as the bride walked directly across the bridge. His suspicions deepened. Urgently, he called out to her to return, but instead of responding, she signaled for him to come closer from a distance. Worried and perplexed, the groom hurried towards her, yet despite their proximity of only a foot or so, he found himself unable to catch up to her, no matter how fast he pursued. And so, they walked for several miles until they arrived at a village. The new bride finally came to a stop. She turned to the groom and said, "Your home seems rather quiet and desolate. I'm not accustomed to it. Please stay with me temporarily at my home for a few days, and then we can go together to visit your parents." With that, she removed a hairpin from her head and used it to gently tap on the courtyard gate. Soon, a young girl answered the call and opened the gate. The new bride entered the courtyard, and the groom, with no other choice, followed her inside. Upon entering the living room, the groom saw his father-in-law and mother-in-law sitting there. They looked at him with warm smiles and said, "Our daughter has always been pampered since childhood and has never left our side for a moment. Now that she's married and away from home, we naturally feel sadness and longing. But seeing her return with you brings comfort to our hearts. Please stay here for a few days, and when the time comes, we will surely send both of you back to your home." With that, they prepared a room for the newlyweds, complete with a comfortable bed and bedding. And so, the groom settled down in this new home. The groom's family and guests, growing concerned when the groom didn't return for a long time after leaving the house, decided to search for him together. However, when they entered the newlyweds' room, they found only the new bride, who had no idea where the groom had gone. From that day on, the groom's family searched everywhere for him, but there was no sign of him. His parents were especially heartbroken, believing that their son must have met with an unfortunate fate. Nearly half a year passed in this manner, and the new bride's parents were sorrowful that their daughter remained without a husband. They approached the groom's father with a request to have their daughter remarried. The groom's father, though deeply saddened, replied, I haven't seen my son's remains or clothing, so how can we be sure he's truly gone? Even if he were to be deceased, waiting another year before allowing the new bride to remarry wouldn't be too late. Why the rush? Frustrated by this response, the new bride's father took the matter to the authorities. Mr. Soon, as the magistrate, listened carefully to the accusations brought by the bride's parents. He found the case to be indeed bizarre, but he couldn't find an immediate solution. In the end, he ruled that the new bride should wait in her home for 3 years. He also instructed his clerk to document the case and then sent both families back to their homes. Now, back to the groom. He stayed in what could be called his new bride's home and received the warmest hospitality from her family. However, the groom often worried about his own parents. Every time he discussed returning home with the new bride, she agreed, but she always procrastinated and wouldn't set out immediately. With each delay, the groom unknowingly spent over half a year at his bride's home, yet he remained hesitant and uncertain. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't find peace in his heart. Finally, in frustration, the groom decided to return home on his own. But the new bride was adamant about keeping him there and wouldn't let him leave. One day, something unusual happened at the new bride's house. Everyone appeared frantic and alarmed, as if they were expecting some imminent danger. The father-in-law hastily approached the groom and said, "We had planned to send both of you home in a few days, but unexpectedly, we haven't prepared the gifts and belongings for you yet, and a calamity has befallen our house. We have no choice but to send you home immediately." With that, the father-in-law hurriedly escorted the groom to the door. Just as the groom was being sent off, the father-in-law swiftly turned back and rushed inside. Even their parting gestures seemed rushed. When the groom turned around to find his way home, he was astonished to see that the father-in-law's house had mysteriously disappeared, and in its place stood a towering tombstone. Shocked, the groom hurriedly retraced his steps to find his way back home. Upon his return, the groom's family was both surprised and relieved to see him. He then recounted the strange events to them in detail. The groom's family reported everything to Magistrate Soon, who summoned the bride's father to explain the groom's departure. Magistrate Soon offered counsel to the bride's father and, in the end, the bride was returned to the groom's home. It wasn't until this moment that the newlyweds could finally be married. In this story, the groom and the bride did not express their opinions because in ancient China, marriage was not a decision made by the couple themselves. Instead, it was the parents and matchmakers who made the decisions on their behalf. In many cases, couples did not even know each other's appearances before their wedding. Under such customs and traditions, this story can be understood. The second story is titled Jiao Ming. The home of Dong Muoen, a scholar serving in the Hanlin Academy, faced persistent harassment from a mischievous fox spirit. Their home was frequently subjected to sudden and violent occurrences, where bricks, stones, and tiles would plummet from the roof like hailstones. Each time this happened, the family members had no choice but to flee in every direction to avoid being struck. They could only return to resume their household tasks after the fox spirit had ceased its disturbance. Dong Muoan was deeply troubled by these events and experienced sleepless nights as a result. In an attempt to escape the fox spirit's torment, he moved to the mansion of Grand Marshal Sun Zwuding, but the fox continued its mischievous behavior unabated. One day, while awaiting the morning court assembly, Dong Muoan shared the strange happenings at his home with his colleagues. One high-ranking minister happened to suggest that a Taoist priest named Jiao Ming, who resided in the inner city and specialized in drawing protective talismans to ward off evil spirits, might be of great help. Without hesitation, Dong Muoan paid a visit to Taoist Jiao Ming and beseeched him for assistance in dealing with the troublesome fox spirit. Taoist Jiao Ming crafted a talisman using cinnabar and instructed Dong Muoan to affix it to the walls of his home. However, to their astonishment, the fox spirit remained unafraid and escalated its disruptive activities, showering them with bricks and stones even more intensely. Frustrated, Dong Muoan informed the Taoist of the ongoing disturbances, which infuriated the Taoist. Determined to put an end to the problem, Taoist Jiao Ming came to Dong Muoan's residence and erected a divine altar to perform his mystical arts. Before long, the Dong family members witnessed a large fox crouching beneath the divine altar. The servants of the Dong household had suffered greatly due to the fox's disturbances and harbored deep resentment toward it. One maid approached with the intention of striking the fox, but suddenly collapsed on the ground, ceasing to breathe. The Taoist sighed and said, "This beast is exceedingly audacious, and I cannot subdue it immediately. How could you, a young woman, dare to provoke it lightly?" He continued, "However, I can temporarily use the maid's body to question the fox. It is a solution." With that, he placed his index and middle fingers together and chanted an incantation. Suddenly, the maid rose from the ground and knelt before them. The Taoist inquired about her place of origin, and the maid, speaking in a fox-like voice, said, "I was born in the western regions, and there are a total of 18 foxes who entered the capital with me." The Taoist raised his voice, saying, "The capital where the emperor resides is no place for creatures like you to dwell permanently. Leave here immediately." The fox spirit, however, remained silent. The Taoist struck the table in anger and exclaimed, "Do you intend to defy my command? If you delay any further, my magic will show you no mercy." The fox spirit then revealed a fearful and anxious expression and, through the maid's mouth, expressed its willingness to obey the command. The Taoist urged it to depart swiftly. At this point, the maid once again collapsed on the ground, ceasing to breathe, and only after a considerable time did she finally regain consciousness and come back to life. Shortly after, the members of the Dong family witnessed a peculiar sight. 4 or 5 white orbs, round and chubby like small balls, clung to the eaves of their house. These orbs playfully chased one another, moving closely in pursuit. After some time, they all departed, leaving the Dong family's residence in complete tranquility. From that day onward, the Dong family enjoyed undisturbed peace. This story narrates the traditional practice of Taoist exorcism to capture and dispel evil spirits. In ancient China, there were numerous legends of mischievous spirits causing disturbances in households, leading people to seek the help of Taoist priests or monks who would perform rituals to drive away these spirits. Additionally, the story touches upon the belief that certain spirits, unable to transform into human form through cultivation, could attach themselves to humans and communicate their desires using human speech. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tales. Groom and Jiao Ming. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.